And welcome back to another edition of the Women of Wrestling podcast. I am, as usual, your host, Stu Allen. I'm here alongside my co-host, Mr. Lee Burton.
We took a winter break by accident, haven't we?
Yeah. I was going to say one thing we are really bad at is doing shows during the winter. We may as well just hibernate.
This should be our gimmick now.
I don't know. Maybe we should do Chikara-type seasons.
Yeah, we could work on that.
but you know, let's get the show on the road here, because if you're listening to this, you'll be aware that there have been some changes, and the main change is the whole hosting of the site. And if you're listening to us for the first time, welcome. We at the Women of Wrestling podcast, we're all about giving a soapbox to people who don't always get a soapbox, hearing some of the stories, getting some of the road stories, bringing you closer to the woman involved in the wrestling business. And when we started this podcast about a year and a half ago, we did one show on a really poor quality podcasting website.
And we crashed it.
Where we crashed it immediately. And
that was down to you guys downloading it, so thanks very much for the popularity of it. It's actually a good thing that you crashed it.
Yeah, but the good thing about crashing it is that all of a sudden we were set with a quandary for show number 2. We were going to say, well, what are we going to do for show number 2? And thankfully we had 3 different offers of hosting come in. 3 different people came to us and said, hey, we really like your podcast. We see that you've crashed your site, which was rubbish anyway. We've learned a lot in a year and a half, gentle listeners. But you know, we've got hosting. We'll host your site we'll host your podcast for you. And the most obvious one to go with was Divadirt, Divadirt.com. And I'm sure, hopefully, that's from most of you who have experienced the podcast before will have heard of us. And I mean, Divadirt has hosted us for about a year and a half. And I mean, let's sort of just, I don't know, go through the story very, very quickly here. But, you know, we've talked to loads of people during the last year and a half, the last 16 shows that we've done, and we've been very proud of all the stuff that we've done. But one thing that has changed from the day that we joined Divadirt till now is that when we first joined Divadirt, there wasn't really a lot of audio content on the site, and I think that was one of the things that we brought there. And I think it's fair to say that in the interim, Divadirt have ramped up their own audio content as well, which includes doing interviews. And it comes to the point where, you know, regardless of anybody's intentions one way or the other, there's going to be a clash of guests. You know, people are going to want to have guests. We're going to want to have guests. They're going to want to have guests. And it just come to a point where we thought, you know what, it's probably better if we just step away from Divadirt and say thank you very much for the hosting, and let's put it on our own site.
So that's what you got right now. This is the first Women of Wrestling podcast on our very own site. So that's ringbellsonline.com. We've got good plans for this site as well. We're going to have quite a lot of new gimmicks on there. We're going to have new commentaries, new articles, lots of opinions, and lots of news as well. And hopefully we're going to be able to have our own take and spin on things as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that we wanna have is that, look, women's wrestling is a niche product, and we know that, and we know that there's only going to be a certain amount of sites that can survive, but we think we can offer something different to a lot of other sites, and that's a bit more of opinion. A lot of diva sites, you know, or women's wrestling sites are all very, very similar, and we want to try and be a little bit different and try and offer something different. Let us know what you like and what you don't like about the website as well.
Yeah, because this is it. Yeah, we need to know. We've been beta testing this now for about 2 and a bit months, and we're quite happy with it. But obviously, it's only been a very small pocket of people who we've showed it to, so we can get opinions back from them. So now we're throwing it open to you guys, and we want to know what you think of it. What do you think works? What do you think doesn't work? How can we make things better? What would you like to see? Tell us. You know, this is your site, and we're covering something that you're interested in, so we want to make sure that we're serving you in the right way.
Yeah, and we've tried to be a bit different as well from everybody else as well. And that's not because we want to be in competition with them. Again, it's a small pie. There's no point in everybody fighting over crumbs. Let's all just, you know, work together and have some partnerships out there, which is more than what we're willing to do. But again, we're going to try and remain 100% independent as far as our opinions are concerned. You know, if something's good, we're going to say it's good. If something's bad, we're going to say it's bad. and hopefully we're going to bring you a lot more insightful interviews as well with the women of the business, and that's what we're going to try and do with our relaunch of the podcast here tonight. We're launching actually at a really interesting point in women's wrestling, sort of especially on the independent level across the Western world, really.
Dude, it's stacked.
And yeah, we couldn't have actually got a better time to launch, because in the space of basically about 2 months, every promotion that means anything is running a show. Well, almost every promotion that means everything. I mean, we just had this past weekend WSU running their 4th anniversary iPay-per-view.
A good show, which is still available. Check it out at gofightlive.tv.
Yeah, there's a review of it on the site as well. Go and check that out. This coming weekend in Montreal, Femme Fatale run their Femme Fatale 5 show.
Yeah, there's a shed load of matches on there which are well worth your money. Calamity versus Mercedes Martinez, Mary Lee Rose v Shanae versus Cherry Bomb versus Cheerleader Melissa. You got Anastasia Ivy against Alison Danger making her debut in the promotion. Loads of stuff going on.
We've got a Combat de Rue as well, but more about that coming up later on. Yeah. The weekend after Femme Fatale. In fact, no, wait, this weekend as well, we've also got Lucha Libre USA, right? Yeah. Battle of the Chica Stars as well.
Yeah, we've also got ACW in St. Louis with a three-team tag match that's going on, and also an Anarchist evening gown match, which I have no idea what that encompasses, but I do want to find out.
This weekend as well, you've also got Toshi Uematsu, Joshi wrestling legend, going to be making her US debut, taking on Madison Eagles and Chikara. More of Chikara to come.
Yeah, she's also wrestling Sarah Del Rey the next day.
Yep. The next weekend after that, we've got Pro Wrestling Sun in New Jersey, which is Alison Danger's new promotion. It's going to run an afternoon show before the World 1 show in the evening. We're going to have a guest on next week to help talk about that.
Also, the week after that is Shimmer Women Athletes. They're 4 DVD tapings for volumes 37 to 40 with the usual crop of stars on there, like Madison Eagles, the Canadian Ninjas, Serena Deeb, Daisy Hayes, Cheerleader Melissa, and also the Joshi stars which come over, Hiroyo Matsumoto, Mizaki Ohata, Ayumi Kurihara, and also Tomoko Nakagawa, as well as the British mother and daughter team of Brittany and Saraya Knight.
Yep, they're going to be making their Shimmer debuts, something I've been waiting for a long time. There's also going to be a debut for Christina Von Eerie in there as well, formerly of AAA. So we've got a lot coming up as far as Shimmer's concerned. Again, we're going to get a Shimmer-related guest on to talk about that coming up soon as well.
The weekend after that, we have WSU returning for 2 shows in one day. The WSU J Cup in the afternoon, which has an 8-woman tournament to determine the number 1 contender for the WSU World title, as well as Mercedes Martinez defending that title against Ariel on the show, and Alicia against Jessica Havoc. And then in the evening, there is the King and Queen of the Ring mixed tag team tournament. So many names on there as well,
including the awesome tag team of Frightmare and Jamelia Kraft.
Yes, which I must see that at some point.
I think that's my favourite team on that list.
Absolutely.
And the weekend after that, back over our side of the pond, Pro Wrestling Eve, they're running their first weekend shows as well. 2 shows back-to-back on April the 8th in Norwich and April the 9th in Sudbury, where they're going to crown the first Pro Wrestling Eve champion.
Very unique tournament. We've got the brackets for that, which are available on the website as well. That's just a little bit further down. Scroll down, you'll be able to find it. And then the weekend after that, we have Manami Toyota making her Philadelphia debut as part of Chikara's King of Trios tournament.
Yep, and she'll be making her Philly debut, teaming alongside Jigsaw and Mike Quackenbush in that tournament, which also includes teams from all around the world, including a team from Michinoku Pro Wrestling, including Great Sasuke, of all people. So there's no shortage of wrestling out there, no shortage of independent wrestling. And, that's not even taken into account. We've got, weekly TNA, weekly WWE, and pay-per-views. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and we've completely not mentioned WrestleMania.
We've missed out shows like TNA's Victory Road, which has a Knockouts tag team title match. We've missed out POW, Clash Wrestling, TUW, Arena Chicks, Ice Ribbon does 3 shows a week. Absolute Intense Wrestling, Wild Wrestling, Bunking Conservatory. There is so much wrestling going on over the next month and a half.
And we're still waiting for the potential debut soon of Amazing Kong on WWE TV. Tenille has recently been signed to a WWE developmental deal.
Yeah, we've got Tough Enough coming up, which is going to have a whole bunch of female indie wrestlers taking part in it.
Yeah, we know a few names. We'll not mention them here if you don't want to be spoiled, but those are going to be coming up soon as well. So there's a lot.
Now, we've hit you with a lot of information right there.
Yeah, go back and listen to it again, eh?
Yeah, or if you don't want to go back and listen to it again, you just want to flow straight through, what we've got coming up every Tuesday is the Ring Bells Roundup, which has been the Women of Wrestling Roundup, which has been featured on our Facebook page for the last month or so. That's now going to be exclusively on ringbellsonline.com. Every Tuesday, we'll give you a rundown of all the big news, all the other little stories, as many results as we can find, and as many upcoming shows as we can find as well.
And here's something going out to the promoters who listen to this show and the wrestlers who listen to this show as well. Keep us updated what you're up to. Drop us an email, ringbells@gmail.com. It gets to us, and we'll include you in the roundup as best we can.
Yeah, because we're searching around and we're trying to find as much as we can, but inevitably we're going to miss some things. So let us know, we'll stick it in there, and hopefully that might mean a few more people coming along to the show.
Absolutely. So, take a breath, everybody.
That's a lot of talking we've just done.
Yes, it is. And really, the Women of Wrestling podcast is not about me and Lee talking. It's about us doing interviews. And as I said, what we're going to try and do for a lot of these big independent shows coming up over the next 6 weeks or so, we're going to try and talk to people who are involved with them, give you a flavour of the shows that you could go and see or you could buy on DVD eventually, and get you basically a little bit better acquainted with the people involved.
So we're starting off with this weekend's upcoming show, NCW Femme Fatale.
Indeed so. And someone who, I'm a big fan of. We got to see quite a lot of her matches. She was actually in the first match that we went to see when we went across the Shimmer for the first time back in 2008. She is Kat Power. And she's going to be taking on this weekend PJ Tyler in a match which is intended to settle the feud, which is raged for about 3 years between those two. We're going to talk to you all about Femme Fatale and all sorts of everything else that we can think of. So if this is your first time joining us on a podcast, sit back, relax, and prepare to be entertained as we bring you Kat Power. And we are back on the show. We're welcoming someone who's going to be taking part in this weekend's Femme Fatale show in a Combat de Rue, no less, a street fight, none other than the feline herself, Kat Power. Kat, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, it's our pleasure, and it's kind of funny. I mean, you're part of our big Women of Wrestling podcast relaunch with our first show on our new site, and it sort of brings me back to a few years ago when we first went to Shimmer for the very first time back in April 2008. You were in the very first match we saw.
Oh wow, that's so cool. That was my first excursion down to Shimmer actually in 08. It was a really fun trip for me.
It was it was your Sparkle debut, your little tryout, I guess, with Allison Danger on the first taping, and I mean, talk to me about that. Was that your first trip outside Canada as far as bookings?
I think by that point I had wrestled once in that was in Chicago. In Colorado, I had gone down with a girl that I trained with in Windsor, but that was only a one-off show, and it wasn't like nearly on the level that Shimmer was. So it was kind of cool to get to go and experience that and experience something outside of, kind of my comfort zone, I guess you'd say, just because when you're in a small place, like, you only get to work certain people all the time, and it's just cool to have such a vast locker room of different styles.
Did you know when you went down there that you were going to actually get on the main show on the second taping of the day, or was that a lucky thing that happened when you were there?
No, that was actually, it was an unfortunate circumstance for me getting on the second taping, actually, just because I had replaced an injured Allison Danger. Allison Danger had worked with me on the Sparkle taping, which was my debut match, or my tryout match essentially. And then she had wrestled in the main event on that taping in a tag match with Cheerleader Melissa and Mischief against herself and Sarah Del Rey. And actually, Danger unfortunately broke her collarbone during that match, so they needed a replacement, and I happened to be standing close at hand, I guess. And Danger was actually cool enough to give me her slot, which was really cool. I have a little trivia for people that don't know. We were sent of the DVDs up until that taping to kind of watch the product and get to know, people's, work styles and everything about Shimmer before we had gone down. And I remember saying to a friend of mine, man, I know it's never going to happen, but if I could work Allison Danger, like, that would be so cool, man. Can you imagine that? And then we got to the hotel that night, and they're like, yeah, so you're going to work Danger on your debut match. I'm like, what? That's pretty cool. Okay, good. Thanks, Dave. Cheers.
That match was sort of doubly interesting because, again, if I'm right in thinking, was that the first match that you wrestled under the name Cat Power?
Yeah, it was actually. I was wrestling as Haley Rogers in Ontario because nobody believes me that my real name was Cat Power, which it is. I'm here to set the record straight. I will scan my driver's license if people want further proof, but I'm here to set the record straight to everyone that's listening that it is my real name. Nobody believed me, so I changed it. And B, there's a singer running around posing as Cat Power, and that is not her real name, and that bothers me to this day. She stole my identity, guys. I'm not happy.
It is quite funny though, because if you do just, as a poor example, but if you do go to Wikipedia and you write Cat Power in, it goes straight to the singer, and you are redirected as Catherine Power.
I know, and that's so freaking frustrating. She was not born Cat Power. I don't even know what her real name is, but it bothers me to this day. She's running around stealing my identity.
Her name is Charlene Marie Marshall.
I think I want to wrestle her for the name.
Now that would be.
I think someone should be brave enough to book Cat Power the wrestler versus Cat Power the singer. Winner takes the name.
That would.
I'm just throwing it out there, promoters. I'm just throwing it out there.
Something I would pay for.
Celebrity deathmatch.
I'm just thinking on the flip side, it's probably best you don't take her on in a karaoke contest.
Oh dear God, no. Nobody needs to hear me sing. Unless it's my roommate when I'm in the shower. But other than that, it's so terrible.
Wow.
It's really not good. There's a reason I wrestle.
No,
I do a mean rendition of Forget You by CeeLo, though.
Oh, really?
CeeLo Green's Forget You, I do a mean rendition of that.
Do it now. You can't say that.
I would just... Maybe at Shimmer. How's that? Maybe I'll do it at Shimmer.
Do it now. We're not carrying a single second on this podcast until you sing at least the chorus.
Oh God, can I swear? I don't want to swear.
Absolutely, you can swear as much as you like.
Oh dear God, no, don't say that.
You're clearly a bad influence, Lee Burton here.
I don't hear anyone singing.
Is this my European Idol audition right here?
It certainly is.
Aw, that's exciting. It's not going to happen, but that's cool.
Oh, all right. I guess I'll have to crash on then. Never mind. It was worth a shot.
Nice try, though. I applaud the effort.
I asked you about the name Cat Power because I remember having a conversation with Dave Prazak after the show, and I think it's fair to say that on that first taping back in April 2008, you made quite a good impression with everybody. Everybody after was going, "Oh, Cat Power was good, wasn't she?" I remember having this conversation with Dave Prazak afterwards at the after party, and we were discussing you, and he said, "Yeah, you know what? That's her real name." And we were like, "Get out of town, really?" And he goes, "Yeah, she's been wrestling as Haley Rogers, and her name is Cat Power. It's like the perfect wrestling name." So, I mean, regardless of obviously the singer thing, did you never put two and two together and think, hang on, Cat Power works as a wrestling name before Shimmer?
I I did. If I had a dime for every person that was like, I can't believe you don't wrestle Cat Power, you're such an idiot, then I would live in a way bigger house than I do right now. It was never, like, I completely get everyone's, point in saying, like, yeah, it is a good wrestling game and it's a good, gimmick name, I guess, quote unquote. But it just never struck me as something I ever wanted to wrestle as. Like, I don't know, to me personally, and it's my name too, to me personally, it just sounds too made up. And I know it's my real name, I do, but I don't know, it never struck me as something like that's what I wanted to wrestle as. But it's what gets me over every time, so I guess I missed the boat.
It's just one of those weird coincidences, like, it takes someone else to point this thing out for you, because I suppose once you start to really get into the cat gimmick, you start incorporating various things into it, like, there's the famous ball of yarn spot with Daphne, for example, which people have tried to recreate ever since, and there's the scratching post and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, do you feel comfortable doing gimmicky stuff like that in the ring, or are you would you like to keep it more serious? Do you mind that?
No, I loved it at the offset. I just had to find it. Like, when Daphne, I owe the whole, my whole, shtick and my whole deal at Shimmer, I kind of owe it to Dave Prazak for giving me the opportunity, and I owe my gimmick and everything to Daphne. Daphne just took me aside before one of the shows one day and said, I had this idea for you, and I wanted to run it by you. And she laid out the whole Cat Power thing with the ball of yarn. And first of all, for someone of Daphne's caliber to do that for me is just far beyond any kind of duty that she had to perform. I mean, she's amazing, and she's done so many great things in this business, and for her to kind of take the time and to do that is just awesome. And we need a lot more people in the business like a Daphne, just because, I think that gets lost on a lot of people. So she presented me the idea, and I just kind of had to have her help me out with it and tweak it a little bit, and then just kind of, like I said, find it and find my comfort zone with everything, and then just go. Like, once you realize that the sillier you feel, the more over things will get. You just let go and just have fun with it. I mean, anything, like, you can watch anything, like Ric Flair is a perfect example. Like, Ric Flair looks cool elbow dropping a jacket. So, I mean, if I can't look cool chasing a ball of yarn or, doing something like that, like, whatever makes the fans happy, then I'm cool with doing. I don't really have like, wrestling isn't, it's supposed to be fun. Like, you're supposed to go out and have fun. And I mean, there is a time to be serious and everything, but I started getting really, really comfortable with my and everything that I was doing at Shimmer. So I try not to take it too seriously anymore.
That's probably.
I did take it really seriously when I first got there because I was so nervous. Like, I just really wanted to make a good impression. But I found, like, the more you just kind of go and, like, if I'm having fun, then everyone else will have fun. So I just decided to start having fun with it.
So, I mean, that was kind of like the rebirth of you as a wrestler then, I guess. But I mean, let's go right back to the beginnings when you were, just a little pussycat. And I understand, like, you were watching Wrestling Age 3. I read an interview with you once. So, I mean, this is something that I can totally agree with because literally my earliest memory is watching wrestling as well. So, I mean, tell me what it was like. How did you start watching wrestling at 3, and what do you remember?
I remember the first match that I watched, actually. I have an older brother. My brother's 5 years older than I am. So this one night, when you're 3, like, you have, like, a 7 o'clock bedtime, like an 8 o'clock bedtime on the weekends. But Saturday night's main event was on at 10 o'clock every Saturday night. So my brother snuck me downstairs this one Saturday night to watch Saturday night's main event. And the match that was the main event of the show was the Big Boss Man and Hulk Hogan in steel cage.
Oh, wow.
And it was the old school. Yeah, it was the old school blue, like hard, really. I know they said like everything is unforgiving in WWE, but like this was like the hardcore, like unforgiving steel. You know what I mean? Like this was
cage.
Exactly. That was the cage that didn't mess around. So that was the main event on the show, and I watched it. You know, and people ask all the time, like, what was it? I think at the time, like in my 3-year-old brain, I just wanted to be cool, like my brother. My brother watched wrestling, so I figured if I watched wrestling, I'd be cool too. And then I just started like loving what I was seeing. Actually, little side note for you guys too. I currently, right now, one of my old jobs, my boss was from London, and he had gone home to visit his family, and he brought me back, which I am currently wearing, a Big Daddy Shirley Crabtree vintage T-shirt, which I currently am wearing right now for this interview. It's true. It's true. I will tweet a picture of it later.
Tremendous.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about a small world. There you go.
It's true.
And then I believe the big moment for you then, that sort of was the moment where you decided, actually, you know what, I would actually quite like to do this as a career, was at WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, this is true. It was decided as soon as the announcement, as soon as they had the press conference and the announcement was made that Toronto was going to host 18, I had a friend of mine in high school. We were both really big into wrestling at the time, and we just kind of knew we had to go. And it's funny because I actually just rewatched WrestleMania 18 about 2 weeks ago, and I still get this like, oh God, I don't even know what it is. Like it's just this. I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, there's just like this emotion that gets drawn out of you. Like when I watch. And not even the match itself was amazing, but when I watched the stare down between Hogan and Rock and just know kind of what that meant at that time and everything, like it was great. Like it was so cool to see that again and like to know like, man, we were there. Like this is so cool.
No, I can relate to you on that one because I was at WrestleMania 18 as well.
Oh, that's cool. It's funny because I wonder if you were the guys that were ahead of us in Fan Access because they were going around with the news station was covering WrestleMania 18, and they had the Fan Access thing, and we were there for the very first day, like the first session of it, and there were these two guys ahead of us, and they were like, hey, how far did you guys travel from? And they're like, oh, we came all the way from England. We think it's very funny that William Regal says he's from the mean streets of Blackpool, England, when it's just a big carnival over there. And we're like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, I wish that was me.
That's also a very terrible British impersonation. I'm sorry.
That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. I'll give you something for that. But the thing about it is that when you talk about things like WrestleMania and especially a show that was that big, because now they do the big dome shows all the time, but that was a rarity at the time as well. So to have, what was it like to be there? And you said that. That's kind of where it started to inspire you a bit. Was it just the scale of the thing and just the huge size of it that drew you to it, or as opposed to maybe I don't know, other wrestling shows where there may be only a few hundred people in the audience?
I don't know. I don't know if it was the scale of everything or if it was the fact that it was so close to home for me. Like I was like, oh my God, like this is. I mean, I'm from Nova Scotia, and it's not like I can say we don't have anything the scale of WrestleMania, whatever, but just to attend and just to be there, I was like, oh my God, this is in my own backyard, and it just kind of brought the realization to me, like, it was cool, because Edge was one of the guys that, I have kind of a handful of guys that sort of are, like my mold or my model that, like, I kind of grew up watching and kind of wanted to emulate when I got into business. And Edge was one of them. And it's really funny because if you watch any of my matches, I actually try to do his facials when I'm selling, but it never really works out the way I wanted to. But I had met him, at Fan Access, and to kind of realize, like, here's this guy, he's just from Orangeville, Ontario, and now he's on WrestleMania wrestling for the biggest company in the world, like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool to think about. And he was at WrestleMania 6 when he was a kid, so I was kind of like, hey, I'm at WrestleMania 18. When I get signed by the WWE, I can say I was at WrestleMania 18, and now I'm wrestling on WrestleMania.
Oh, so you had your backstory all set up then.
Process. I did, absolutely. You got to have all that. Guys, I have my book written. It's good. We're good. We're golden.
That's great. And then, from there, then you thought, okay, what I want to do is I want to be a wrestler, and you ended up getting trained originally. The Can-Am Wrestling School with Scott D'Amore and his boys, isn't that right?
Yeah, the first trainer that I ever met was Johnny Devine. Hotshot Johnny Devine was the first guy that I ever shook hands with in the wrestling business, and it was really cool because I had seen him on TNA, and the Team Canada thing was really, really hot, and it was just really cool to meet him and get guidance from him. Then I met Scott D'Amore, who intimidated the living crap out of me. And knowing him like I know him now, I've just, Scott's become a really good friend. But at that time, I was just so scared and so nervous to do anything or say something wrong. Or, I was just like, I had my head down like, yes sir, no sir, like, whatever. But,
is that because
knowing him like I know him now, it's just like, it's not. What's that?
Is that because he used to shout a lot on TNA?
Yeah, a little bit. I think there was that. It was like, am I talking to Scott D'Amore? Am I talking to Coach D'Amore? Is he going to hit me with a hockey stick? Is he going to yell in my face? What's going on? I don't know. And then about I would say 6 to 8 months after I started training, textbook Tyson Dukes made his way into the Can-Am Wrestling School and sort of took me under his wing. Not only in the school, but in the business in general. I would ride with him to shows, and he would introduce me to people, and he would sort of be my Yoda, if you will, in the business. And I owe a lot of my knowledge, and owe a lot of my knowledge I owe to Tyson Dukes.
We talked with Mercedes Martinez in another podcast, and she said that she took to wrestling really easily. And then we spoke to Sarah Del Rey in a different one, and she said that it was really difficult for her just to get it and to get a handle on it. What was it like for you?
I'm not an athlete in any way. I played rugby in high school, and I was just a smashing machine. Like, I wasn't. Yeah, I played flank, and then my last year I was 8-man, and I just hit people really hard. So I'm not athletic at all. So I'm kind of in the same boat as Sarah. Like, I tend to overthink things as well, which is really sort of frustrating. Because when I do anything, I want to be good right away. And when I wasn't good right away, it would just make me mad. I kind of have to look at things in the sense of, I just kind of got to take my time with stuff, and I have to realize, nobody's good right away. And it was a lot of, my trainer Tyson yelling at me like, hey, patience, and, like I said, just realizing that it's not natural what we do. Anything that we do is just not natural movement, and you have to kind of train your brain to make it natural and realize, you're learning a completely different sport and a different way of thinking altogether. You just have to make unnaturalness almost second nature.
I heard a great story about your training, by the way, and this is going right back to when you first got in touch with the Can-Am Wrestling School. I think I read an interview where you explained that your mother called Scott D'Amore and basically gave him like the third degree over what his credentials were for training her little girl. So, I mean, I need to know this story of the overprotective mom. I need to know about this.
Man. Well, if we had been in a room, Scott would have been sweating bullets like he was being interrogated by, I don't even know. It's just, my mom, oh, God love her. She was just nervous about me moving away from such a small place to the big city of Windsor, which I can say it sarcastically now because it's really not that big of a city. And she was just very nervous and decided that by attempting to put the fear of God in Scott, then I don't know, then I would somehow be safe. But, I mean, I was 19 when I left home, so I guess I can kind of understand the motherly instinct. I mean, maybe someday if I have kids, I'll get it. But I was, like, standing there just so god-awfully embarrassed. Like, Mom, God, this man holds my job.
Is your mum a bit of a smashing machine as well, then? Would she have swung for Scott if she didn't like what she'd heard?
I don't know, because my mom is all of, like, 5'3".
Oh, really?
So if she's swinging up. I'll say that.
Now, I mean, I'd heard something, and I don't know about the story about this, but had you had a previous bad experience of a trainer, and that was why she was so protective this time?
Yeah, there was quote unquote, wrestling trainers where I lived, and I mean this tends to happen. So if I can give any kind of advice for new students or people that are looking to get into the wrestling business, like please look into, look into a good school in your area. Like the best advice that I ever received was, get trained by someone who has done what you want to do or is what you want to be in the business, because that's the best way, to know that you're not going to get taken for a ride. So yeah, she was kind of a little bit, nervous about that, just because she didn't want me to get all the way to Windsor and then kind of have the same thing happen. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, at the time you'd gone to this wrestling school, but you dropped out of college as well, hadn't you?
I did, which I wouldn't recommend doing. I had 2 years in university. I was going to school for tourism and hospitality, and I definitely should have finished. I mean, one of the bigger regrets I have was not finishing, but I had it in my head like, no, I have to go now. There's no time, and I can tell, a young kid now, like there's always time. There's always time for school, and you really, really have to finish. It's really important because, I mean, no matter how far you go in wrestling, your body's not going to last forever. So, you really need an education to fall back on for sure. So that's definitely a regret of mine, but I'm looking to rectify that. So I'm gonna look at doing some schooling.
What sort of thing?
Getting some education.
What sort of thing would you be looking to study then?
I actually really interested, ironically, in sports management. I think it's I like I said, I'm not an athlete, but I know sports, so I'd be really interested in doing something like that, getting into, maybe promoting or becoming involved that way. But I'd like to have like a decent business background in sports before I get into that. So I would definitely look into something like that.
Well, as far as your wrestling things go, once you broke in, I guess you started to work the local indies. How did you find, your colleagues at the time? What was there as far as a scene, as far as other girls to work up there? I think you had probably Jen Blake and Danya.
Yeah, that was about it. It was honestly, when I broke in, it was just as well as a girl by the name of Tiana Ringer. Was actually a Shimmer alumnus as well. She had been working for about 3 years, I think, when I started. So I had gotten to wrestle her a couple of times. So she's since retired now, but now, I mean, there's so many more girls in Ontario, which is great to see, because when I first showed up, there was 4 of us, and we were like, yay! And we just kind of switch off every weekend and essentially wrestle each other 10,000 times, and like, who's heel tonight? Are you heel or am I heel? You were heel last week. Okay, then I'll be heel. Like, it's just like flip a coin and see who you're working, just because, you know, there wasn't a real big talent pool to draw from. So it's great to see young girls coming up now and taking it seriously and you know, kind of showing that the girls can get in there too, because it was rough. It was rough when I started.
Fair enough. And as far as your wrestling name of Hayley Rogers, that's again something we've got to thank Mama Power for, isn't it?
Yeah, Hayley Rogers was a combination of my grandmother's maiden name and my mom's maiden name. Actually, is my mom's family's name. It was kind of just like a throwback to the family, I guess. But I needed, like I said, I didn't really want to go with Cat Power, even though everyone wanted to punch me in the head for that. I decided to go with Hayley Rogers just because at least it meant something to me. At least it wasn't like, something completely random like Sir Bolivar Turnbuckle.
Whoa, what a name! I like I like that.
That could be Stu's wrestling name.
I might. Was this one that was suggested to you at some point in time?
No, that's actually from an online cartoon called Strong Bad.
Wow.
That's an homage to my trainer Johnny Devine, because he got me hooked on Strong Bad.
There you go. I like that. That sounds good. Yeah. Again, as far this sounds almost like I should be interviewing your mum here, because I keep asking you questions about her. But again, just from doing some research for this interview, I read an article online on the Cape Breton Post, and it was talking about the fact that your mum was going to see you wrestle for the first time on an East Coast pro wrestling show. This was like September 2008, so you've been wrestling for like 2 and a bit years. By the time your mum finally saw you.
Yeah.
Did you basically tell her to stay away for a long time until you felt comfortable, or was it just a case where, it didn't work out timing-wise for her to see you?
It was a matter of logistics. Nova Scotia, my mom lived in Nova Scotia. Originally I'm from Cape Breton, and where I live in Windsor, it's about a 24 to 28-hour drive. Yeah, it's about a 5-hour flight. So it just kind of never really worked out. Like, if she was visiting here, I never had a show booked. Usually, like, if she came to visit, I'd take time off and hang out or whatever. So it just kind of never worked out that we were, hanging out together when I had a show. And actually, that show I owe to Dania. She had originally gone out to work for the promotion, and he had kept in touch with her and asked her who she wanted to work next, and she had suggested me, adamantly, like vehemently, just kept on the promoter to bring me out there and to bring me home, and that's something that I'm indebted to her for, because that show, not only, for my mom to see me wrestle, but literally my whole family was there, and that was a really cool thing as well. On top of the arena that we wrestled in, I used to go to that arena when I was a kid and watch wrestling. So, I mean, people talk about, like, the WrestleMania moments. That was kind of a WrestleMania moment for me. I mean, even though it wasn't at WrestleMania, that was a really big moment for me. It was cool. It was really cool.
That's what I was going to say. You haven't yet made it to WrestleMania, but even if you haven't, at least you've had that moment. What did your mom say afterwards?
Oh my God, she couldn't say anything. She was crying.
In a good way?
It was really funny. In a good way. She was being proud mom. She was just really happy because she knew when I left that this really, really meant a lot to me, and I wouldn't do it if I wasn't, if I wasn't passionate about it, and I didn't love it as much as I do. So she was just really proud and really, really happy for me that I was kind of living my dream, and it was cool for her to see it live, to actually get to bear witness to it for once. So it was, she was just really proud and really happy. And she's a bit of a crier too.
That's cool.
She's going to be so mad if she hears this.
We're gonna make sure she hears this. We've said
I've just outed her.
Hey, we said nothing but nice things about your mom, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's coming up then. This weekend in Montreal is Femme Fatales, the Femme Fatale 5, the fifth in that series, and you're in, and I love saying this, a combat de rue, a street fight with PJ.
No, never call it a street fight again. It's always combat de rue, because it just sounds cooler.
I was
combat de rue.
I was translating for those who didn't understand the French. You and I, we may be cunning linguists, but not everybody might be like that. So, but no, as far as the combat de rue is concerned, you're facing off with PJ Tyler, and you must have literally fought her a million times.
I did actually. I did.
Who's winning?
I'm sorry?
Who's winning so far?
Who's winning? That's a good question. I don't know if we've kept a tally, honestly. I don't know. I really don't know. We've thrown everything at each other. We've thrown everything but the kitchen sink at each other to pull out a win. I mean, I've cheated, she's cheated. We both cheated together. It's just it's one of those crazy rivalries that we got to put an end to it, and that's what's going to happen this Saturday. I'm done messing around, and I threw down the challenge, and of course, you know how pissing contests go. Formerly known as PJ Tyler, actually, because we had words at the last Femme Fatale show, and she wasn't really paying attention to me. So in order to demonstrate the seriousness of the matter, I called her out on her real name. We're done messing around. No more fluffy PJ Tyler fun and games here. Courtney Rush is now, looking down the barrel of 2 fists in her face coming on Saturday. I'm done messing around.
Tell me her real name is Courtney Rush.
It is.
She should be getting the Cat Power talk if that's the case.
Yeah, right? For sure.
So what the fuck were you thinking?
I don't know. It's something in the water at Can-Am Wrestling School, I guess. We're all a little off. But it's Femme Fatale 5 on Saturday is going to be a pretty raucous event. I would highly recommend anybody in the area, or even if you're not in the area, travel to go see the show.
Hang on, we're in Britain, for crying out loud.
Heathrow flies out all the time.
I know, shut up.
I'm sure.
Unless it's lakes of snow, in which case we're in lockdown, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Oh dear God.
No, it's a shame actually, because we are heading out in a few weeks' time to Shimmer, but I would love to catch a Femme Fatale show at some point. I've seen some of them on DVD so far, and they seem to have a really nice setup there in the big hall. It's like a church hall. Is it a church hall?
It's a hall of some kind. I don't think it's a church. It's just a really, really big building. It's like a community center or something that we wrestle in.
It's got big arched windows.
Yeah, their product is fantastic. The product is really, really great, and they take a lot of pride in it, which you can tell, like you said, like just from watching the DVDs and, seeing everything on there, like you can just tell that they take so much pride, and, they want to put forth a great effort for their fans.
The DVDs are put together really, really nicely as well. Got some really nice sort of video footage and montages and stuff as well. Gotta love a montage.
You can get everything done with a montage.
You can get everything done with a montage, but I'm really sort of sold on Femme Fatale as a show, because it's one of those things where, again, this is I guess the talk for people who haven't yet seen Femme Fatale, but if you've watched like Shimmer or sort of something like that, this is another thing which it's got a bunch of people you'll know from Shimmer, but it's also got a bunch of people that you won't know, a bunch of young Canadian talents as well. And that's the thing that I've really enjoyed, because obviously it's the big names like the Fisto and Cheerleader Melissa and yourself who might draw the people in, but then people are going to come out of it and they're going to go, hey, he was pretty good. That Calamity, that's somebody I'm quite high on at the minute. What do you make of the? I mean, you talked about the young wrestlers in Toronto, but there seems to be a huge crop of wrestlers coming up in Quebec as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't really speak highly enough of Femme Fatales. I mean, there's such a great locker room as well. Like, to go in, like, if there's ever anybody new coming into the locker room, like, they're very much welcomed into the locker room in a very proper fashion, and everyone on the roster just want to make the product so much better, and it makes me, feel good being involved in something like that, where I can go to, a younger girl, or have them come to me and be like, hey, do you mind watching my match and letting me know what you think? And, like, I have absolutely, no problem doing that with someone, anyone in the business, because it was done for me. So I don't mind paying it forward and, giving my time to a younger wrestler that's just, so willing to learn. And I mean, you can see it in the locker room. All those girls, like, you can see it in their eyes. They're so eager, and they want to make the show so much better. And it's cool, because it's kind of a healthy competition thing, where it's like everyone's trying to outdo the last person just to make the product better. It has nothing to do with, ego or anything. It's just purely for the product, and that's a great thing.
What's that like then, to have girls coming to you and saying, look, I respect your opinion and I respect what you've done and I respect the feedback that you could possibly give to me. Tell me what you think of my match. Tell me how I can make it better.
I'm kind of honored. I mean, I don't ever profess to be, the greatest worker or the greatest wrestler. God knows I'm not. I really just like what I do. I just really enjoy, wrestling. And if I can pass on any kind of knowledge or anything from my experiences, or any mistakes I've made that I see a younger kid making, if I can nip that in the bud and make them better, then in turn it makes the business better. So, I mean, I guess everybody wins in that sense. It's cool to have someone just come up to you and be in that position, because I would run to my trainer Tyson all the time, be like, Ty, you're gonna watch my match? You better watch my match. And, like, run to him and say, what'd you think? What did I do? What did I mess up? So to now be in the position that he was in is a really nice feeling, because it's kind of a sign of respect, which I appreciate.
Very much so, yeah.
Well, as far as Femme Fatale's concerned, you were talking about some of the maybe younger talent or the less well-known talent. Is there anybody, we mentioned Calamity, but is there anybody else who sort of sticks out that you think, this is somebody who you should really pay attention to?
Let me think. I think Xandra Bale, I'm putting over the Ontario girls again, but I think Xandra Bale is a really, is a really talented and athletic girl, and I think, she's got a great career ahead of her, and I definitely think, I think she's somebody to watch. I think, who else? Oh my God, it's such a huge locker room. I think Mary Lee Rose is great, and I love her. She's got, like, this Punky Brewster, like, such a little spunky character and everything, and it's, I think, I'm entertained by her every time, I watch her go out. I'm just like, oh my God, if I can half as energetic as that, man.
She is energetic, I'll give you that. I do absolutely agree. I've been very much entertained by Mary Lee Rose as well, although she is in the ring this weekend with cheerleader Melissa, so
yeah, that should be I'm actually really looking forward to that match. Melissa is definitely one of those wrestlers, like, when you know that you're getting in the ring with her, like, you need to step your game up. Like, that's an A game kind of match, and you definitely want to be be willing to put in 150%, because she, there's never a question that she's going to bring it, so you better be ready to bring it too, because it's, that's kind of a match of, some say like a career-making match. I mean,
yeah,
I still reference the match that Nicole Matthews had with cheerleader Melissa at Shimmer. And honest to God, like, if anybody hasn't seen that match, I would absolutely be remiss if I didn't tell people to go out, and I feel awful that I don't remember what volume that is, but that is a phenomenal match. Like, that is absolutely amazing, and I would just, really recommend anybody going out to get it. So if Marilee Rose is willing to put in, that kind of 150% A game, then, everybody in Montreal is in for a clinic. I would just say that.
Absolutely. No, that was a tremendous match. We were there live for that as well. Just amazing stuff. I mean, you've had your run-ins with Melissa as well. Volume 2 or Femme Fatale Volume 2, you guys were in the main event of that. Well, you kind of made it a tag team main event.
Yeah, that was my first main event, which was very, very awesome for me.
Sort of an impromptu tag team match with yourself and Calamity against Melissa and Lufisto, and you ended up going through a table as well.
I did, my first table bump as well.
How scary was that?
No, you know what? Honestly, when we talked about it, I was sort of nervous, but at the same time, I was in there with Lufisto, and I trust her implicitly, so I knew I was in awesome hands. So, I mean, when we were out there and I knew that it was coming, I wasn't nervous, because, like, when you're in the moment, like, you don't really think about it.
No.
So I was nervous, like, before. But then when we got out there, I was like, nah, we're good.
Not to mention the fact that Lufisto's done a million times worse than that. So if you start wimping out about one table bump, you might as well just leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there was Lufisto talking a few weeks ago about how she had a piece of glass pulled out of her back, which must have been from one of her death matches 4 years ago.
Yeah, I don't do that. I chase string, guys. I leave all that stuff to Lufisto.
That's true.
I have mad respect for that, though. I have such a level of respect for Lufisto. I can't even begin to put into words. That show that we did the tag match in the main event. Lufisto and I had wrestled before intermission on that show, and that match with Lufisto is probably my most proudest, and that's terrible English, but that's probably my proudest moment in wrestling. Was that match and that the main event and everything, doing the table and getting to go through that, just because I've had a lot of great moments, but I think that's probably the match that I'm proudest of myself. Because anybody that knows me on a personal level knows, like, I beat myself up a lot, and I always want everything to be perfect, and I get real, real mad when it's not. But that match, and then, the tag match and the main event to follow, was probably my proudest accomplishment that I've ever been of myself.
Excellent.
Just before we go any further, FYI, if you're interested in buying that Shimmer DVD with Melissa v. Nicole on, it's volume 27.
Ha! Volume 27, folks. Go pick it up. Cat Power recommended.
They should put that on the cover.
Tell them Cat sent you. Yeah, right?
Nice. Now, I need to ask you this, because again, you've obviously been up and down the road. You talked about the long distances between the different towns in Canada and when you're on the indie circuit and so on. When we were discussing setting up the interview, I did suggest that you probably should try and think of a funny story or something, and you immediately responded within like 5 minutes, going, I have this story about when I once hit a deer at 2 a.m., so...
Please tell us about this.
The floor is yours.
Okay. So, the Canadian landscape is prone to wild animals.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah, true story. So that weekend, I actually didn't plan on going. I had taken a booking on the recommendation of my trainer, Tyson, in Oshawa, rather than go to a show that everyone was doing in Timmins. There's about a from Oshawa, I'm trying to think, probably about an 8-hour difference between Oshawa and Timmins, so it would have been like a 14-hour drive as opposed to probably like a 5-hour drive, but still, I was like, I want to come party in Timmins. But on the advice of my trainer, I took a booking in Oshawa instead. So the show ended up running late. I was driving back with my friend Phil Atlas, who's an All Japan Pro Wrestling superstar, as well my close personal friend Brad freaking Martin, who is also a All Japan Pro Wrestling superstar. And Phil and I had decided to drive back to Windsor because Brad had driven up, and Brad was asleep in the back seat. Phil had driven for about 3 hours, and we had made a pit stop at a rest stop along the highway, and then Phil and I switched off, and I was driving for all of maybe 10 minutes when I saw a sign that said Windsor, 245 clicks. And I remember thinking, yes, we're going to be home in like 2 hours. This is going to be awesome. And then out of nowhere, this deer who had already somehow made it across 3 lanes of highway traffic runs right into my speeding car, which actually was not my speeding car, which was my friend Brad Martin's speeding car. And we completely wrecked the driver's side of the car because I hit a deer going about 120 clicks at 2 a.m. So we pulled over, and I was in such shock that the rear view mirror had cracked off and landed in my lap, and I was afraid to look down because I thought that it was the deer's head. Because we're in such a state of complete and utter shock that it happened. Like, I didn't even have any kind of time to swerve. It just literally came out of nowhere. Like, remembering the story now, I just remember this white streak in front of the car that just came out of nowhere. So anyone that knows Phil Atlas will understand this joke because it's Phil to a T. But anyway, we pulled over. Brad, of course, woke up and didn't know what was going on. He just thought we blew a tire. And he just kept saying, if you can drive, just go. Let's just get home. And Phil proceeded to turn around and say, B, we hit a deer. And then all hell broke loose because we realized the damage to the car. We then had to call the cops. We had to call CAA. And we're sitting in the car, and this transport truck pulled over because it had seen what had happened, but we were all thinking, oh my God, this is how scary movies start. So when the guy walked up to the, yeah, totally, like, this is totally like a totally scary movie. It was horrible. So we just completely ignored the guy, like we didn't even see him, and then he just left and drove away. And we're like, wow, that was close, because apparently we think somehow that Leatherface drives truck in Canada.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Done now.
Just disregarding disregarding the fact that you almost ended up as, one of the chain of the human centipede. What happened with the deer?
Oh, the deer didn't make it. It actually, when the cop pulled up, Brad had gone to talk to the cop because it was Brad's car. And in the car, Brad said, hey, did you see the deer that we hit? And the cop then proceeded to say, oh, you mean the hamburger that's sitting in the middle of 401. So, needless to say, I'm sorry, but I apologize to young children everywhere, but I actually killed Bambi's mom.
Nice.
Bambi's mom shouldn't have been walking out in traffic.
It was ridiculous. Like, I still to this day can't believe that it crossed 3 lanes of highway traffic and then ended up hitting our car.
It's like Deer Frogger.
It's like serendipitous for some reason. I don't know why.
It's not for the deer. Wow.
Where do you go with
I
for a
defy
story like
anyone.
that?
I know. I defy anyone. If anyone can top that story, then I will shake their hand. I'm sure somebody can, but that's my road story.
We should probably end it there, but I've got another story I want to ask you, and this is going to take a bit of setup, but you'll know what I'm talking about immediately. Okay. But for people who don't know or whatever, I remember seeing a video of you once, and it was a film director called Gavin Michael Booth, who had set up this concept called How Many Days, and it was an idea whereby he would post a YouTube video every day until he managed to meet 12 of his idols, people who had influenced him in filmmaking. And during the course of this odyssey, he wasn't allowed to watch movies, and in order to watch a movie he had to complete a challenge, and this was all part of what made the daily YouTube updates entertaining. And on this day he was allowed to watch the film Cloverfield if he took on the Andy Kaufman-esque challenge of fighting a female wrestler. And the female wrestler in question, as you well know, was a young Haley Rogers.
It's true.
Now, I need to ask this because I found this video years ago, probably not long after you debuted in Shimmer, and I found this online. I was like, wow. And it's always stuck in my head somewhere in the back of my brain. And now that I'm actually getting a chance to talk to you, I have to ask, what are your memories of that?
It's really funny because it kind of came about through mutual friends. Gavin is from Windsor, and he's really, really proud to be from Windsor. It's very cool what he does with his production company, because he didn't go and take it to Toronto or, produce anything in Toronto. Like, everything he does is done right here in Windsor. So that's very cool for the community here. I was out with some mutual friends, and we all kind of ended up at a bar, just kind of shooting the shit, and he found out that I was a wrestler and explained the concept of How Many Days and asked me if I'd like to be involved, and I thought it was kind of cool, so I was like, yeah, okay. So we ended up going to the fitness center, and I remember leaving. I had come right from work, and I was there, and I got in my gear and everything, and just a really good time. I mean, the people that were there watching everything in the background and stuff were all, like, friends of his, and, I knew through friends, and everyone was just so entertained, and it was just really, really funny. I mean, I just remember we had to do a couple of takes of certain things, just because, not of the actual, the actual wrestling part or anything, but like of certain things in between, just because we were having such a good time and it was so funny. The concept to me was really funny too, because I'm like, you actually like want me to like, beat you up? He's like, oh yeah, it's good, it's all good. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And you proceeded to do just that.
I hit really hard. Yeah. And I felt actually really, really bad, because I had seen him, he's a friend now, but I had seen him shortly after we had taped it, and he told, like, he had legit neck problems when I choked him out from the chicken wing, and I felt so terrible, because, like, it wasn't about that. Like, I've gone 6 years in wrestling and never hurt anyone to my knowledge, so I don't want to keep it that way. But he's fine now. Anybody that's listening, he's okay.
Just as well. It's funny because you can still find this on YouTube. I looked it up earlier on today, and you were day 283 of his quest. And I thought to myself, wow, that was like, that was a good few years ago. I wonder whatever happened. I wonder if he managed to find all his idols. And it turns out that the answer is a resounding no. And as of now,
not yet.
As of now, he's up to over 1,400 days. Of YouTube videos.
This guy's life.
I think he's managed so far to meet 4, maybe 5 out of his 12. So, wow, this guy set himself a challenge, and he's either going to have to be a quitter or he's going to have to find something entertaining to do every day for the rest of his life. So.
I find it very strange too, because I know Ellen does like a segment on her show about like YouTube videos and crazy stuff on YouTube and whatever, and it's mind-boggling, because I know Ellen is one of the people on his list, and I find it mind-boggling that she hasn't found this yet or found him yet. Like, it's just very strange to me.
This guy's been doing it for nearly 4 years.
It's true.
4 years.
That's dedication. He's still, he hasn't given up yet, so God bless him,
I admire his persistence, if not his intelligence.
I think by the second bet too, I saved him having to sit through P.S. I Love You, which is
a fine piece of work.
I feel Yeah, which I'm really proud to say that I saved someone from having to sit through that movie.
Excellent. I want to ask you something, because you've recently, I would say, in the last few months, got involved in Twitter, and you're quite sort of quite into Twitter now. You seem to be anyway. And one of the things I've seen you mention on there is you've been going to boxing training.
It's true. Yeah, I tried. I'm very good, because apparently in boxing you don't feed your face on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept. Yeah, it's something I've wanted to do actually for a really, really long time. My grandfather was a boxer back in the day. He actually boxed in the war, in World War II.
Well, that's a shame. Everyone else had guns. That's a shame.
Yeah, right? He just had his boxing gloves. He didn't get the memo. He just showed up with his gloves like, hey, guys, where are we going? We're going to France? Okay, let's do this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's it's a small boxing club in Windsor, Adanac Boxing. And it's really, really great training. I think, I kind of got sick of the gym, like, in the gym, atmosphere. Like, I needed something new. Like, you always want to shake up your workout, every so often. And, instead of just, going on the elliptical and then going to lift and doing whatever, I just decided, I needed a change. And I got into contact with the trainer at Adanac Boxing, and he decided to take me on, and it was really cool. It's really intense. I mean,
no kidding.
You feel great after. Yeah, you feel great after, and you feel, you feel a real sense of accomplishment just because for sure you got to work out because you're soaked. It's so gross.
when you say boxing training, I mean, are we talking about the sort of the cardio side and the sort of the boxing, the shadow boxing, that sort of stuff, or are you actually getting in the ring and sparring?
Oh no, I'm sparring. Yeah, for sure. I'm not the kind of person like I can just sit by and watch. Like I got to get in and do stuff.
I got that impression about you somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said at least twice now that you hit hard in this interview. So I mean, what do you like being hit hard? That's the next question.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If someone's not hitting me, I think it's just a lot to do with my training too. Just because we don't train pansies at Can-Am. Like, wrestling is a real sport. A lot of people, it frustrates me when people ask me if wrestling is real. Yes, it's real. Yes, we're really hitting each other. We're getting hit. Just because, it's out in the world now. I'm not breaking any secrets here that wrestling's predetermined, but it's still a sport, and if someone's not hitting me hard, then I'm just going to hit them hard till they do. I would prefer to get hit and know what I'm selling or what I'm doing than, just kind of someone just taking it easy. Like, that's not how I was trained. Like, I can take a hit. So, hit me.
I remember
I'm going to hit back regardless.
I remember you were at a POW show. I think it was the day before one of the Shimmer shows, and I think you took a DDT or something like that and been left with the dirtiest mat burn across your forehead. So proud of it you were.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens in our business. I mean, I broke my nose in the middle of a match and had to keep going. I split my eyebrow open. Like, my trainer, Tyson, blew his ACL in the middle of a match and had to keep going. So did my trainer, Johnny Devine. Like, it's just, anybody that has anything to say about wrestling being fake, I urge you to go and try it. Just because you'll find out very quickly that it's not.
Just a quick piece of advice about the boxing thing, though. Like you said about not feeding your face. The concept in boxing is to not be hit at all.
Right. I've learned this. I've learned this the hard way because they hit you hard in the face. So,
what are all these lights?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Why am I in an ambulance?
I was just standing. Yeah, it's really funny because I'm so used to, like, feeding and then eating the shot and then selling and making it look really good. They don't need that in boxing. They're already good.
True. Is it something that you would actually look into? Would you like to have a boxing match, a fight? Or
I don't know.
Is it something that you enjoy doing it, but you're not necessarily sure you want to actually do it for real, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, I mean, I haven't really decided. I just, I enjoy the training a lot. My issue with boxing is, like, I just don't know if I have it in me to pull the trigger, so to speak, and actually purposely go in there and hurt someone or knock them out or, make them give up or quit the fight or, whatever. I just, I enjoy the athleticism of it, and I respect the hell out of boxers because they're fantastic athletes. But yeah, my issue with it is I don't know if I have it in me at all to do that, just because I spent so long trying to take care of someone instead of, hurt them. So I don't know. I would give it some consideration maybe in like a year, but at this point it's just purely for training.
What about mixed martial arts as well as an option, something to combine the two styles of what you've been doing? Would you try something like that?
I would look into that as well. It's kind of hard in the area that I'm in because there's very limited resources with MMA. There's no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu clubs that you can go learn at, and there's a really, really good Chinese kickboxing academy here in Windsor, but it's not Muay Thai, and that's kind of the style that everyone kind of molds themselves. Like you're either Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, a wrestler, or a boxer. You know what I mean? That's kind of I'm not trying to pigeonhole those guys or anything, but like that's mostly the styles that they follow. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard at this point to kind of pursue that. I'd really like to go to TriStar in Montreal at some point and just kind of train there for a day and see what that's like. That would be really interesting.
Are you a fan of MMA? Do you watch MMA as a fan?
I do, yeah. I really, really enjoy it. I think, and it's funny because going back to people calling wrestling, a fake sport or whatever, Brock Lesnar was a pro wrestler, and he's the top guy in, the new contact sport, and UFC and MMA is heralded as like the new big thing in contact sport. And, this fake pro wrestler went and won your world title. So for someone to say that wrestling is fake, like that's, they're not right.
That pissed off a lot of MMA fans, absolutely. Yeah. I'm very pleased to say as well. So there you go. Well, look, I mean, as far as this weekend is concerned, I think we'll sort of wrap things up in that respect and say, good luck in your Combat de Rue this weekend.
Excellent. I will say Combat de Rue in my promo as an homage to you guys.
Tremendous.
I'll put it in there somewhere.
God bless you.
This is why we love Cat Power.
It's one of many reasons. No, well, again, thank you very much for being part of our relaunch. I'm absolutely thrilled as all sorts that you would be the person to help relaunch the site, or the relaunch the podcast, I should say. And good luck in whatever you're going to do in the future. I mean, is there anything you can tell us about what Cat Power is going to be doing in 2011?
At this point, I have no solid plans. Just keep doing what I'm doing and staying positive. I'm at a really good spot in my life right now, so stay tuned, I guess. Same cat time, same cat channel. Ha!
Brilliant!
That was a pun.
Brilliant. We have to end it